You can make $200,000 a year and still be broke. Not broke like you can't afford dinner. Broke like, if the money stopped tomorrow, you'd be underwater in 90 days. Let that land. $200,000 a year. That's the top 5% of earners in this country. That's a number most people will never see on a pay stub. And yet, there are people pulling that right now who are one bad quarter away from financial collapse. I know because I've seen it. I've lived adjacent to it. And if you're watching this, there's a real chance you are in it, and you don't even know it yet. This isn't about income. Income is the symptom. This is about what's happening underneath the surface. The silent killer that no mentor, no guru, no business school professor ever warned you about. They call it success. I call it the income trap. There is a phase in the wealth-building journey that destroys more futures than poverty ever could. It doesn't look like failure. It feels like winning. You've got cash coming in. Your business is growing. You upgraded the apartment, maybe the car. You're flying to conferences. People are asking you for advice now. From the outside, you made it. But here's what nobody tells you until you're 50 years old, sitting across from a financial advisor, wondering where the last 2 decades of money went. High income without architecture is just a faster way to build someone else's wealth. The taxmans, the landlords, the luxury brands, the credit card companies. Everyone gets paid, except future you. Today I'm going to show you exactly how this trap works. Why the smartest, hardest working people fall into it. And the only framework that gets you out. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you will either change your trajectory permanently, or you'll dismiss it, scroll on, and wonder in 10 years why nothing changed. Let me paint the picture of the rich broke life. Tell me if any of this sounds familiar. You make good money. Real money. Maybe you've got an Amazon FBA business doing 50K, 80K, 150K a month in revenue. Maybe you're a consultant, a high-ticket closer, a real estate agent crushing it in a good market. The deposits are real. Nobody can take that from you. But here's what else is real. Your lifestyle scaled with your income, maybe a little faster. The apartment that made sense at 60K a year doesn't cut it now. What would people think? The car you drive is a statement. The restaurants you eat at are networking, right? The mastermind you joined for $25,000 was an investment. The new product line you launched, the one that's sitting in a warehouse in Kentucky right now, that was growth. This is the invisible tax of status, and it is ruthless. Because here's what status does. It moves the floor up. Every time your income rises, your minimum acceptable lifestyle rises with it. The Rolex isn't a reward anymore. It's a baseline. The business class ticket isn't a splurge. It's just how you travel now. And before you know it, you need every dollar you're making, and then some, just to maintain the identity you've constructed. You are not building wealth. You are funding a character. Let me get specific, because I know who's watching this. Amazon sellers or entrepreneurs. You know this trap intimately. You're doing $2 million in revenue. On paper, you look like a machine. But inventory eats 40% of your cash. Amazon takes their 15%. Shipping, PPC, storage fees, returns, chargebacks. Now you're at 60% gone before you've paid yourself. You scale to fix it. You launch more SKUs. You pour another $80K into inventory because scaling is the answer, right? Wrong. You just bought yourself a bigger hamster wheel. Scaling without profit architecture isn't growth. It's accelerated debt creation with better optics. You are working harder, carrying more risk, managing more complexity, and the number in your personal account isn't moving. Maybe it's shrinking. That's the rich broke trap, and the terrifying part, it feels like momentum. I'm going to say something that sounds insane, and I need you to sit with it. Making more money is often the worst thing that happens to a financial amateur. Read that again. Because high income doesn't fix bad habits, it funds them at scale. It gives incompetence a longer runway. It turns a small leak into a flood, and it does it quietly while you feel great about yourself. The person making $40,000 a year who can't save. That's visible. It stings. It creates urgency. They're forced to confront their relationship with money. The person making $300,000 a year who can't save, they're insulated from the pain. The income covers the dysfunction. Every month ends and there's just enough left to feel okay. No crisis, no wake-up call. Until there is. Until the market shifts, the algorithm changes, the big client leaves, the Amazon account gets suspended, and suddenly the whole architecture collapses, and you realize there was never any foundation, just cash flow, just motion. Here is the distinction that changes everything. Income is activity dependent. You stop working, it stops coming. It requires your presence, your attention, your time. Every single month, on repeat, forever. Wealth is existence-based. It works when you sleep. It compounds when you're on vacation. It doesn't care if you're sick, burned out, or just done. High income is a drug. It feels incredible. It gives you confidence, status, options. But if you don't convert it, if you don't transmute it into real assets, you are simply a high-paid laborer with a nicer office. Net worth is the cure, and most high earners are addicted to the drug and terrified of the prescription. I'm going to pause here, because this is the moment where most people check out. Not because this is boring, because it's uncomfortable. The average person will scroll past this, go back to their comfortable decay, and tell themselves they'll figure it out later. Later becomes 40, 40 becomes 55, and 55 becomes sitting across from an advisor, doing the math, realizing later never came. The 1% will lean in. They'll take what I'm about to give them, and they'll move. Subscribe now, join the Dynasty, or stay exactly where you are. All right, here's the framework. Simple, brutal, effective. There are only 3 things you can do with money. 1, consume it. 2, circulate it. 3, convert it. Most high earners are doing 1 and calling it 2. That's the entire problem. Let me break this down into the 3 pillars of what I call the Dynasty method. Pillar 1, cash flow. Cash flow is not wealth. Let me say that louder for the people in the back of the room who built their entire identity around their revenue number. Cash flow is not wealth. Cash flow is oxygen. It keeps you alive. You need it, but you don't live in it. Cash flow is the starting material, not the destination. Your job every single month is to take a percentage of your cash flow and move it before your lifestyle can consume it. The rule is non-negotiable. Pay your future self first, not after expenses, not after inventory. First, before the business gets another dollar, future you gets their cut. If you can't do that yet, your business isn't profitable enough to deserve to scale. Pillar 2, reinvestment, and the lie you're telling yourself. This is where I'm going to step on some toes. When most entrepreneurs say they're reinvesting in the business, they are lying. Not maliciously. They believe it. But they're lying. They're buying equipment they don't need yet, hiring headcount to manage growth that hasn't materialized, moving into office space because it feels more legitimate, attending events, upgrading software, building out systems for a version of the company that exists only in the pitch deck. That is not reinvestment. That is consumption with a business justification. Real reinvestment has one test. Does this dollar create a measurable, compounding return? Not it might help us look bigger. Not it positions us for growth. Not everyone at our level does this. Does it compound? Yes or no? If you cannot answer yes, you are spending, not investing. And spending dressed up in business clothes is still spending. Pillar 3, core assets, where Dynasty actually lives. This is the only column that matters long term. Core assets are the things that produce value without your direct labor. They are the engine of legacy. The definition of wealth. We're talking about real estate that generates cash flow, equity in businesses you don't operate, index funds compounding quietly in the background, intellectual property, books, courses, systems that sell while you sleep. ownership stakes, brand equity, patents. Most Amazon sellers have zero of this. They have a business that requires their login, their decisions, their relationships, their attention, every single day. The moment they step away, the revenue declines. That's not a business. That's a job you created for yourself with higher risk and no benefits. The move is to take the margins from that active business and quietly, consistently convert them into core assets that don't need you. That is how dynasties are built. Not in one dramatic move. In quiet, boring, relentless conversion. Let me tell you what the other side feels like. Because most people have never been given a picture of what they're actually building toward. There is a moment, it doesn't happen overnight, where the math flips, where your assets generate enough to cover your life. Not your expenses, your life, the whole thing. Where you wake up on a Tuesday, and the question isn't, what do I have to do today to keep this thing running? The question is, what do I want to do today? That's not retirement. That's not laziness. That is the definition of true solvency. It means your financial survival is no longer dependent on your performance. You are not one bad month from crisis. You are not one account suspension from panic. You are not one client away from having to make desperate decisions. You have bought your freedom, not with a purchase, with discipline over time, through conversion. And here's what changes when you get there. Every decision you make becomes cleaner. You take the meeting because you want to, not because you need the deal. You build the product because it matters, not because rent is due. You lead from abundance, and that is an entirely different quality of leadership. Most people will never know what that feels like. That is a choice, whether they realize it or not. I want to reframe wealth entirely, because the cultural definition is destroying people. We've been sold the idea that wealth is accumulation, that it's things, houses, cars, watches, experiences. The stuff you can point to and say, I made this. That's not wealth. That's evidence of past income. And it depreciates. Real wealth is optionality over time. It is the number of days you can live exactly how you choose without being coerced by financial necessity. Think about that. Because right now, there is a war being fought for your time. And most of you are losing it. Your clients own your Mondays. Your suppliers own your cash flow. Your landlord owns your margins. The algorithm owns your attention. The taxman owns April. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, you are trying to build something that lasts. You cannot win a war you don't know you're in. The most dangerous lie of the entrepreneurial world is that hustle is the strategy. That if you just work harder, longer, faster, the compounding will come. It won't. Not from activity alone. The wealthy don't work harder. They architect better. They build systems that separate their time from their income. They are obsessive about the conversion, turning active income into passive structures, turning cash flow into equity, turning labor into leverage. They are playing a different game, and until you understand what game you're actually in, you will keep winning at the wrong one. I want to leave you with this. Everything we've talked about today, the trap, the framework, the conversion, all of it can be fixed. Bad financial habits can be corrected. Poor reinvestment decisions can be reversed. Cash flow can be redirected. Assets can be built. All of that is recoverable. But there is one thing, one resource, that cannot be reclaimed once it's spent. Time. Every year you spend in the income trap is a year of compounding you will never get back. Every year your capital sits in depreciating lifestyle expenses instead of appreciating assets is a year of dynasties that were never started. The math of compound growth is brutal and it is beautiful, but only if you start. The gap between someone who starts at 28 and someone who starts at 38 isn't 10 years. In asset terms, it can be millions. In freedom terms, it can be a decade of your life. You are not going to live forever. You know this. But you act like you have infinite time to figure it out. Infinite time to get serious about money. Infinite time to start the conversion. You don't. The people who build dynasties, real ones, that outlast them, that changed their family's trajectory for generations. They didn't have more talent. They didn't have better luck. They didn't have a secret most people don't have access to. They just got serious earlier. They stopped performing wealth and started building it. They made the decision that the short-term discomfort of discipline was a bargain compared to the long-term devastation of staying comfortable. That decision is available to you, right now, today. Not after the next product launch, not after Q4, not when things settle down, today. The question is whether you're going to make it. You came to this video for a reason. You felt something when the hook hit. You recognized something in the rich broke portrait. Some part of you knows the clock is running, and the game you've been playing isn't the right one. That's not an accident. That's clarity trying to break through. Here's your next step. The video on your screen right now. Watch it. It goes deeper into the asset conversion framework and shows you exactly how to build the first layer of your dynasty, even if you're still in the thick of building cash flow. This is not motivational content. This is not financial advice designed to make you feel good and do nothing. This is the architecture of a life that is actually free. You either want that or you don't. There's no middle ground. There's no someday. There's only the decision you make in the next 10 seconds. Get rich, for real, this time. Watch the next video now.